Hey, what's going on, everyone? Baddest Chaplain here, hoping all is well with you and yours. Today, I'm speaking with my good friend, the good sister Shalah Turner. Shalah is the founder of Conscious Consulting. Conscious Consulting is a company designed to help you put your ideas into action. So, Shalah, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, likewise. I'm excited for you to be here too. I really believe, and I've told myself this. I've tried to encourage myself at this point, right? That
Mhm.
every crisis creates opportunity, right? So when you look at those who are like great or have done something, people are like, man, they're so amazing. A lot of the times, that greatness and the opportunities were birthed out of something going wrong. So,
Yeah.
what was that thing that happened in your life that made you say, you know what? I need to work for myself. Like I like this ain't it. I need to do something for me. Like what happened for you?
So I did not have like this beautiful story of I woke up and God was like, girl, leave. And then I just joined, it didn't happen like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, in fact, I was very much so committed to nonprofits that
Hmm.
I really believed in mission over even my own personal self-care or
Right.
sanity.
Right.
So, and you know this, anybody that knows has ever been in that space, you
Yes.
know that you get real comfortable with just kind of waking up and being like, well, this is just a part of the job,
That's
and
how it goes.
I'm just gonna push through it.
That's right.
God just don't want me to be happy right now.
That's it. This is my lot in life, right?
This is my cross,
It's
and
my cross.
I was operating like that for a while,
Mhm.
and I had always been very, very privileged in having jobs that gave me flexibility.
Mhm.
And so much so that when I had a traditional 9 to 5, I really didn't understand, like, what you mean I can't just leave and go to community meetings, or, like I have to sit here. And so, needless to say, it was a position that felt like I needed to go, but I wasn't willing to go anywhere.
Come
Like I
on,
was going
right.
to stay. And so eventually, they forced my hand. I was fired.
Come
So,
on.
I was told, well, that my position was ending, but it's just a nice way of saying,
It's
"Girl,
polite.
you gotta go. Like, you
Right.
gotta go."
Yeah, yeah.
And so, um, they told me that, and they had this meeting with me, and I was thinking that the meeting was about getting a raise,
Mhm.
right? Like I had been busting my butt
Come
there.
on, right.
I just completely thought that it was about getting a raise. And the funniest thing is, I don't think I was ever supposed to take this opportunity. And I think it was a perfect example of God giving you what you want just to kind of show you.
Whew. Say that.
And,
Say
and I'll
that.
leave that part there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I was only there for 8 months. And when they called me in, I'm like, okay, I've been doing everything right and da
Mhm.
da da da. But well, what I later learned is they didn't want me to do everything right. They hired me without any experience because they wanted to justify not needing this position.
Ooh, okay. Plot
So
twist.
now I don't know any of this. I'm
Right.
the youngest one there, super naive,
Just
thinking that,
ready
I
to
just
work.
got this amazing door open for me.
Yeah.
I've been killing it. So they're ready to give me my raise. And they were like, as of next week, you don't have a position.
Come on.
So I had that moment, and I had already started conscious consulting months prior. I just wasn't operating in it. And I
Mhm.
only had started it as something like a backup plan.
Gotcha.
Um, Not wanting to ever fully use it full time, but just
Yeah.
something to do in addition to what I was doing.
Mhm.
And in that moment, I kind of realized the only reason I didn't want to do it on my own was because I thought it was financially irresponsible because I was a
Right.
mom.
Right. Mhm. Mhm.
But it's something about sitting in HR and somebody telling you, yeah, we don't care about how you're going to feed your family. I,
Woo.
I started realizing, like, I don't want to ever have this conversation again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so that was what sparked it.
Mhm.
And I haven't looked back since.
I hear you. I hear you. Now it's like it sounds like it really put a battery in your back, and where you kind of had you had all the skills already there, but it was just like that sort of sense of like, oh, for real? Okay, I got to do this now,
Yeah,
right?
I got to do this now. Like
Yeah.
I have to do it. So that uh that was that.
I
And
hear you.
it's been ever since. Conscious
Yeah,
consulting ever since.
just making it happen. And one thing, like I gotta, there's a lot of podcasts that now talk about like giving folks their flowers, but your family, I really gotta give you your flowers, and
Oh,
just
thank you.
thinking about the ways in which the entrepreneur space, business in general, can be a sort of like fertile space for like narcissists and folks who only care about themselves. But
Yeah.
your whole approach to this has been so community oriented. Like you've not just said like, oh, I got to get myself right, but you've given countless people now a blueprint for how to get themselves right. Like really gotten folks free and teaching people how to get free. So I think about, so I want to applaud that, number one, but number two, you talked about how, it took you some time to say like, this might just be like my backup plan. This might just be my parachute.
Mhm.
How do you deal with clients who you can see the potential in it? They have a wonderful idea. This is going to help a lot of people, but their doubts are so loud. Their
Yeah.
doubts kind of blanket the possibility of entrepreneurship.
So to be very honest, I don't.
That's real.
And I have a lot of people, and I know that they want that. And I've even had clients say, like, I needed you to give me a push.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I don't. There's a lot of coaches that do that really well, and
For
that's their
sure.
skill set. Um, it's not necessarily that it's not my skill set,
Uh-huh.
but I view ideas differently. Okay,
Got
and
you.
I think this is going to speak to why I operate the way that I do, or why I encourage everybody. Our ideas don't belong to us.
Talk about it.
There are things that need to happen. And if you get in alignment with it early enough, you get to be the one to carry it out. But if you don't, God will find somebody else.
That true story though.
So it's a lot of times I have people, and I see this all the time. Like I have one lady, and I'm not going to say too much about her story because I know she's going to watch this, but
Right.
5 years ago, she came to me with a concept.
Uh,
Brilliant, like brilliant. We were both floored about it. She did
yeah.
nothing with it.
Come
Well, we're
on.
seeing it come out now.
Ooh.
And back then, it was something I was like, kind of a good idea, but not sure how it would work. Now it's like pressing, everybody doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she reached out to me, was like, oh my God, can you believe? Yes. Yes, I
Can.
can. Because it needed to be done.
Come on.
And we think so high of ourselves, we think God won't use somebody else. If he needs it done, it's going to get done, whether you do it or not. And
Preach.
so whenever I'm working with a client, I have to remind myself of that. Like, Shayla, this isn't just because of who you are. Like, it has nothing to do with me. I'm just
Right.
operating on something that was given to me, but that was passing through. And if I wouldn't have grabbed it, somebody else would have grabbed it and
Come
been able
on.
to do the same thing. But we get really stuck on it's about us, and so that's why we get in our head and we got these doubts. So I don't spend time working through it because I know the idea is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if they're not ready to be the one to execute it, that's timing I don't even want to touch
Come
or
on.
or mess with. And there's
Yeah.
plenty of ideas I've had personally that I didn't execute out on. And I'm grateful for those moments too, because I
Mm-hmm.
just might not have needed to touch it.
Yeah.
So it's really a matter of not pressing
Yeah.
timing, and ultimately recognizing there is for sure an expiration on every ounce of inspiration you get.
Yeah.
And
True.
you can choose
Mm-hmm.
to play around with it if you want, but you're going to see it happen somewhere,
Right.
because it has to get out.
Right. My goodness. You've given me a couple of thoughts. One, you're making me think there's somebody walking around like looking at an iPhone and crying because he thought of that first and didn't do nothing with it. It's like, man, I knew you could put the record player inside the phone. I knew that you could. And they are hurt.
Right. And now you're just upset. You're just mad for the rest of your life. Like,
Rest
that
of
was
your
my
life.
one good thing.
That was my one. That was my one. That really was my one. I also thought about Miles Monroe. He had a fantastic quote where he said, "The wealthiest place in every community is the graveyard, because that's where all the
Mm,
unwritten books and all the unstarted
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
businesses and
Yeah.
ideas are." And you saying that just made me think about those two things. Like somebody just really just hurt every time they see Apple, and then two, folks are just like sit on that idea forever and don't do nothing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They we will. But the biggest reason that we sit on it is not because we don't think the idea will work.
Right.
right? And I think that entrepreneurship, and this is something I'm still going through. So I'm not saying this
Oh
from a
yeah.
space of an expert. Trust me when I say God was dealing with me with this morning, probably
Today,
tonight.
fresh,
We
fresh.
going through this right now, right?
Right, right.
It requires you to actually deal with you.
Come on. Yeah.
So it's like all the things about ourselves that we don't deal with, it bubbles out and it spills into this business.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually forces you to deal with you. So when people are nervous or scared, a lot of times it's not because they don't think the idea is going to work. That's why they said it out loud. They know
Yeah.
it's going to work.
Oh yeah.
They're just not confident in their ability to do
That
something on
part.
their own.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that honestly takes a different level of depth
Mm-hmm.
and time and true mentorship,
Yes. Yes.
um, that it, I think that it needs to be separated outside of what I offer as far as consulting services.
Got you.
But there are some amazing coaches that just focus on mindset work. And a lot of people think like, oh, well, that's not as important. Like, no, that's almost most important
Mm-hmm.
because you can't get to the strategy, you can't get to anything else if the belief
Yeah.
part isn't there.
Isn't there? I hear that. I hear that. And what you're saying has made me think about the ways in which I've tried to like train my TikTok algorithm to really
Mhm.
give me like good information, and my YouTube algorithm to give me good information. Because at first it
Yeah,
just give me
yeah.
nonsense. Like I don't want this. I want to learn stuff. And the amount of folks I've learned from, I think about like James Clear with Atomic Habits and Simon
Mhm.
Sinek's work. And the thing that keeps coming up over and over again is this whole notion of the importance of consistency, right? Like there's some
Yeah.
folks who get so caught up in like the sort of perfectionism that like you never really start, or like you do it but you never put it out there. And then there are folks who are just like, man, whatever, I'm gonna do it when I feel like it. But there's something about the importance of consistency that I've seen come up time and time again. So I say this to say, like, how have you seen it help people on their business journey, this notion of prioritizing being consistent?
Well, I think that it helps tremendously, right? And the hard part about consistency is a lot of people feel like they're not consistent or they're not disciplined or
Hmm.
but the reality is most of us are just consistent or disciplined in certain areas.
Right.
And so if I had to measure it, I would say all of us are given the same amount.
Hmm.
It's just
Hmm.
where you're using it. And then we beat ourselves up because like, oh, I'm not consistent in my workouts, but you are super consistent with your business, or I'm not consistent with this. Well, you're really consistent with your marriage, So we've got
Right.
all of these different areas.
Hmm.
Um, and so a lot of time we're just so burnt out with
It's
certain
tired.
areas that it makes it hard.
Yeah.
But I will say that it always works with business by being consistent because eventually it's going to pop,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? And so it's like, I know eventually this is going to break if I just wear it down
Hmm.
enough.
Hmm.
The whole part of the process is that consistency sounds really good when things are easy. Like
Talk about it.
it's really easy to post every day when you're making consistent money, your life is going good.
Oh yeah.
But can you post every day if you get sick? If something happens in your family, if
Hmm.
the market changes, if no one looks at your page, can you still
Yeah.
go every day relentlessly, right?
Right.
And so um it gets very uncomfortable
Hmm.
and it's hard to keep moving when things are uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And because of that, we don't do it.
Yeah.
But what I've seen, even with myself, is you're planting seeds every time you do something in your business.
Hmm.
And so when you stop or there's a lag in your consistency, you don't harvest later on.
Yeah.
And so people will be like, oh, well, it's been a month and I still haven't made a sale. Well, those 2 weeks you took off 3 months ago
Come
are
on.
catching back up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really hard to
Hmm.
grasp.
Hmm.
It took me a very long time to get it,
Yeah.
but you have to like consistency isn't just something that would be good for you to do.
Right.
it's It's necessary. Like
Yeah.
just like you have to go to work and you have to clock in, like you have to prove it. You have to every day find a way to be consistent. That doesn't
Gotcha.
always look like posting, but you have to make sure that there are constant actions being taken.
Mhm.
Um, and really treat it as a part of your routine and a part of your habits
Yeah.
because that's the only way that you're going to actually see some results.
That's real. That is real. Yeah, you just hit it on the head for me because I'm thinking about the ways in which we're so obsessed with the like end result, which is like maybe
Yeah.
wealth for some people, or fame, or just being seen, being acknowledged. That we
Yeah.
don't think about those details of like me cheating myself and saying like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not gonna work that hard for this season of time. That it's not gonna pay off too. Like that's paying off as well, right? Like
Yeah.
as much as work pays off, cheating yourself pays off in an opposite direction.
Yeah.
So
It's always consequences.
always, always. You made me think about my freshman year of college where me and my homeboy we would work out. Our student union had a gym and then like a
Uh-huh.
cafe on top. So we'd work out hard and then go get a double cheeseburger right after. Be like, man, it ain't paying
Listen.
off. The cheeseburger working harder than the muscles.
At best, you're gonna break even.
At best, your 500 team. At best, you know what I'm saying 100%. So I see on the site you offer a free ebook, and this ebook provides 100 ways for folks to make money with their ebooks. But what is it about ebooks that you think are such an effective tool for growing your business? It's not just something you think. I mean, it's
Ooh,
happening. What is it about
yeah.
ebooks?
So we are in a digital information space, but not
Hmm.
just any digital information space. We are looking to learn the most in the shortest amount
Hmm.
of time. And ebooks are allowing you to be able to make transformations in a
Hmm.
very short period of time.
Right.
But the hard part is, like everything else, when we learn something, we usually only understand it from that initial point of learning it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So for the average person, they hear about ebooks and they just cancel it off like, okay, this isn't something that I could apply or I can do.
Hmm.
When ebooks can be sold to schools, it could be sold to organizations, it could be used as coloring pages that people print out.
Hmm.
You can create printables of templates that you've created, right?
Hmm.
Like let's just say you took all of the questions from your podcast
Hmm.
and sold it to other podcasters as a tool that they can use. You
Right.
can do that as an ebook, right?
For sure.
So it's just all of these ways to be able to monetize your knowledge in short form.
Hmm.
So I got interested in it because I started to realize that I have been told a lie about entrepreneurship.
Come
We
on.
think about entrepreneurship as a place of freedom.
Right.
Let me just tell you, it is it is nowhere near a space of freedom. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
freedom is being able to clock out.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
being able to take time away or to be able to ignore when the phone rings
Right.
because you're spending time with your family. That's really freedom when we really think about it,
Hmm.
right? That I can go, I can work, I can make a set amount, I have security in that, I can pull away if I need to, I can schedule accordingly. A lot of that is freeing. But then we build things that require us 24 hours out of the day, that require us to be unrealistic
Right.
about what we need to do for ourselves. And so for me, I started seeing that those two things were conflicting to me.
Hmm.
I've spent all of this time being this child advocate, knowing how important it is for the parents to be present. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
here I am doing everything but being present with my son.
Come
So
on. Right.
um, ebooks and other digital products. I like to focus on ebooks because I like reading. I like literature. So that's why that's been my space. But
Gotcha.
there's so many other digital products, but it allows you to be able to create something once and have infinite inventory
Hmm. Hmm.
so that you can be able to get your time back
Right.
and not have to worry about, yeah, I spent a lot of time with my kids, but now I can't afford for us to eat, right? Because this is the reality of what happens.
Come on. Right.
You're
Right.
choosing, I'm either going to provide for you financially or I'm going to provide
Yeah.
for you with my time, but
Right,
it's
right.
never an opportunity to be able to do both.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so this begins to allow you to start to put things out there so that you're
Hmm.
generating revenue, you're not losing out on income,
Right,
but that you also have time. But again, this is where that consistency thing sticks back in
right, right,
because a lot of times it's hard to stay consistent with it because it's so new, it's so different. You're not really sure, like, is this worth me putting my time into?
right.
And so we aren't consistent with it, then it doesn't work. We kind of just rule it out. And so it has to be both creating it and then being consistent with it so that you can actually see the results.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I hear that. Yeah, it is. Yeah, once again, just precisely it, thinking about that whole like time versus like money debate. Like I
Yeah.
was just the other day at a on a work trip, but at a cafe, talking to colleagues, and I was like, wow. I'm surrounded by folks whose money makes money. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
sitting in the room where folks were not there for work. We're just enjoying their latte, just hanging out with their kids. I was like, oh, your money must make money because for you to
Yeah.
have this sort of time at like 10 a.m. on on a weekday, no holidays involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think of this sort of work as countercultural because it doesn't seem
Yeah.
like you're subscribing or advocating for like that I'm sleep when I'm dead, kind of grind culture. It doesn't seem like that's really like the key part of it. It sounds, if I'm understanding it correctly, like doing this work is about, like you just said, fixing that balance between time and money. So making sure that you have time for other things rather than just like working all the time or being on the clock. What would you say um gave you that sort of perspective? Like was it having a child that's turned that switch on for you, or was it other things prior to? That's honest. That's really
You
honest.
know, he's a cute excuse.
Right here. It's a noble
Um,
excuse. Yes.
yeah, but I have always realized that
Mhm.
I have a spurts brain,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Like I do really good in these spurts, and then I've got other seasons where it's like,
Hmm.
not so much. So I got really fortunate very early to have amazing jobs and
Got you.
jobs that allowed me to perform directly in an expertise.
Yeah,
And what
yeah,
I
yeah.
started to learn, and there's a content creator, Marty Woodard, and he talks about this, and I think it's spot on. That when you're an expert and you get to operate at your point of expertise, you don't work more, you work very specific,
Hmm.
right? And so he talks about how the doctor
That's
isn't the
true.
one that's running in and out of the room.
Right, right.
The doctor comes in for a very specific conversation
Uh
and they're
huh.
out.
Yeah, that's true.
Any expert, the surgeon,
Right.
they're coming to just let you know, hey, these are I'm doing A, B, and C. That's the fastest conversation you're gonna have.
True
The more
story.
specialized the person, the quicker your interaction with them.
Right.
And so my first job was working for a law firm.
Okay.
So here I was 16
Yeah.
and I worked for a top bankruptcy attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching, he's not just always busy. Like he was most of his time was spent reading, perfecting his craft, and then executing,
There
right?
we go.
And so um it made me realize that the smartest people in the organization, their superpower, their benefit to the company is their knowledge.
Yeah.
And so, all of that to say, I spend a lot of time working on perfecting my knowledge
Mm-hmm.
more so than the busy stuff. And that's always been something I desired. So I
Yeah.
always found jobs that will let me do that. Like, can I be in the community all day and then, okay, I can come up with a program?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't want to be sitting in a room all day
Right.
developing this or doing memos and stuff. Like, that's not my skill
No.
set.
No. No.
My
No.
skill
No.
set is show me the kids and I'll show
Yes.
you what we should be doing.
100%.
And so the more I had experiences like that, the more I realized I liked it. And so having my son just kind of up the ante on it because
Uh-huh.
it's like, all right, now I not only want time to perfect my craft, but I want time to just be mom.
100%.
Like, we want to be able to just enjoy each other. And
Right.
so I think it's been a combination of those things. And I really would love to encourage people to think about what's natural. Like, what is your natural rhythm?
Mhm.
And what do you need to create that honors that natural rhythm? Like
Mhm.
I tell everyone, I have no desire of consulting for more than 5 more years.
Talk about it.
I mean, y'all might have 1 year left in me.
Like 2024
Like,
might be the
Lord, I'm trying to be
final tour.
obedient, but like, come on. Like, at some point, my desires got to be lined up.
At some point.
Um, and so I'm willing to do a lot more work on the front end if this is giving me some additional cushion afterwards.
Mhm.
But I don't want to burn myself out in any space,
No, no.
and really recognizing, well, what does that look like for you as an individual? And then beginning to create something that honors it.
Mhm.
Like, I know I'm going to have to hire and train someone that's able to replace and understand this model so
Right.
that I can then be able to transition to the rightful spot in the business I belong.
Got you.
Um, but that's not always comfortable. And it's definitely not easy, but something that I'm working towards.
I hear that. Now you really you all know how you just bless me with what you just said about specialization and experts, because it's something I've always wrestled with in my own journey. Is And I was an English major. I'm a minister. I'm a writer, and I
Yeah.
never felt like reading was work.
Hmm.
Like, it felt
Yeah.
like if I was reading, even if it was like reading like a memo from work, it just felt like I was like
I
taking
liked it.
time
Yep.
away from the doing. I mean, I enjoyed it, yes, but like I also felt like it didn't count as like something I did today. And
Yeah.
so it was always a fight, and I've had to sort of give myself that permission to say, like, no, we're gonna read for exactly the same way you described. Your boss who was a lawyer, so I can get better at my craft.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Because the more I expand my vocabulary, the more I understand these different things, the greater my impact is when I'm
Hmm.
interacting.
Yeah.
And it's so intentional. And it also sets you apart because most people aren't reading.
So few people.
I mean,
So few people.
me and one of my friends, we joke all the time. We joke all the time, even having conversations, even things like religion or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's always, and I mean, I don't have to explain this to you because you see it all the time in your space. It's amazing how little we know about Jesus. Like, we are
Hmm.
Christians, we and we rarely ever read the red parts of the Bible,
The red part's untouched. Untouched.
it's so interesting. But it's like because a lot of people don't have the desire
Come on.
or the love of reading.
Hmm.
And it's it's a great benefit because there's so much information that's available to
Oh
you
my goodness.
if you're willing to go through that journey of it. But a lot of people, it's boring and it's
Yeah.
not being given to me in an entertaining way.
Right.
It's um it's dry. I don't want to
Right.
make it through it. And I I've always said I enjoyed reading, but in this season I don't as much.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure exactly if it's just the stuff I'm reading, if I'm just tired or what.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was a book that I started to read and I wasn't liking it.
Hmm.
Like it just didn't stick.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it wasn't a page turner. I felt like I was struggling. Even the
Come
Audible
on.
version, I was like struggling
Oh,
to
not the
listen to
audible
it.
is
Like
bad. That's tough.
Audible was bad. I was like, man, like this damn voice is getting on my nerves with this
Falling
content.
asleep.
Yeah. But what I realized was it was because the content conflicted with me.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
book was Death of the Expert or Death of
Mm-hmm.
the Expertise, or I'm not sure if I'm familiar with what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
vaguely. Yeah.
Um, and I kept seeing people recommend it. I'm like, this book is not good. But what I realized is he was speaking from a space that I didn't necessarily agree with.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to force myself to get through it, which I'm really glad I did
Good.
because it reminded me that we don't even, we're so wired to ignore or cast out things that are different
Right.
that we're missing a whole nother part that's necessary to
Absolutely.
really hone in on our craft. So it's definitely been, I've had to get myself to getting back to really forcing the reading, but it's necessary, and the
Hmm.
more that you engage and you really get a jump start into somebody's brain. You think somebody else just specialized in this, and now I get to tap right into their thoughts.
Hmm.
It's just very much underrated.
So what it sounds like is that people are leaving money on the table by not reading. You know, like it's
Ah,
like this don't even know what they're
I
missing out
mean,
on.
we've got so many books that teach us how to do everything.
Everything.
Everything. Everything. I like my ideal, my dream job, okay?
Go ahead.
Dream job.
Let's go.
Y'all gonna see when I retire and then money's not an issue or whatever else, I will
Yes.
be, and everybody's gonna be like, what's she doing that for? And you'll just know you heard it here first, a librarian.
Come on.
That is
Let's
my
go.
favorite place. That's my
Right.
favorite place.
Right.
And so I I was having a whole, mommy moment because my son will be 11 tomorrow. So I just have
Oh,
been in
happy
this
birthday. Happy 11.
cloud of
My
emotions,
goodness.
right?
Of course, as you should. My God. 11.
You,
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like I'm
yeah.
about to cry right now. So
It's okay. It's a safe space.
so as I was doing it, one of my friends like, your son was 3 when you went full time into business, and
My.
how are you doing that? It was just you, and at the time his
Yeah.
dad lived out of state,
Got
and
you.
I was like, well, I had the library, and I don't think people really understand
Come on.
how much I used the like we would go there at 9 a.m.
Uh-huh.
and leave at 6 when they closed,
Yeah.
and he would be in the children's area,
Uh-huh.
and I would be in the children's area on their computers.
Yeah. That's it.
And we did this. I mean, if I needed to print something, I was at the library. If I needed a meeting, I was in the study rooms. If I needed to use a computer, that's what we were using.
Yeah.
He had a tablet at the time. We were using their Wi-Fi. We didn't have Wi-Fi. And I'm like, we have these resource centers
Right
in
here.
our communities. And I would say to them, I'm trying to start a business. How do I write a market strategy? Oh, here's a book for that. Here's how you write your
Amazing.
business plan. Everything I did in the initial startup of our business happened in the public library.
Public library.
And even to the point at the time, now LinkedIn has bought it because they're sneaky like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
at the
yeah, yeah.
time, it was, what was it called? Linden Learning or Lydia Learning. I
Oh yeah,
can't
because
think of
now
what.
not like LinkedIn's like course series. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
their
yeah.
course there. But back then, you could use it for free with the library card.
Ah, okay.
So it was classes on social media marketing and classes on everything. And I would just sit
Everything.
there like a sponge
Yeah, yeah.
and go through it and read the different things because you had access to it with your library card.
Wow.
And it was it was great. But it made me realize just how underused these spaces are because people don't even know that you can
Yeah.
go, or that the librarian has to have a special master's and she's the best researcher in your city. Like,
Exactly, by far. Right.
so I know you want to ask the business coach about it, but just go ask her,
'Cause-
and I guarantee
yeah.
she's got more information on where you could
He gonna
find
ask her too.
anything.
Right.
Exactly, exactly. And so, yeah, librarian, hands down, that is my all-time favorite place, and one that anybody that's watching this, I don't care if you're an entrepreneur or not,
Right.
tap into your local library.
There we go. There we go. Shayla, what would you say is your hope for the world in this moment? Like when you look out on
Ooh.
things, you could localize it. I know that's a giant question, so you could
Mhm.
localize it just to like entrepreneurship or like parenting, whatever space you feel like it resonates with you best. Like what is the thing that you're like, you know what, it's gonna be all right. Like what gives you hope?
It's two things that give
Mhm.
me hope, right? The first is that God is truly sovereign.
Yeah,
That's the first.
for real.
And that when you are to have something, it is going to be yours.
Yeah,
Like I can teach a million strategies, I can talk about a million things, right? But ultimately, I want everybody to know that every single thing that's ever happened
yeah.
has been the result of God saying that it was time for it to
Come on.
happen.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so the best example I can give, and this is something I stand by wholeheartedly, is if you're supposed to have $2 million, God can send a squirrel to hand it to you. Like
For real.
that's just the reality of it. That what is yours is going to be yours. And
Yeah.
so I have to remind myself of that all the time
Hmm.
because it gets really easy to get caught up in the chasing and the feeling left out and the feeling
Right,
like I'm behind.
right.
You're not.
Yeah,
Um, and none of this stuff is new to God.
right.
None
For
of
real,
it.
for real.
So that's a long one, but a first one.
Hmm.
The second is that, and I'm currently writing my first print book, and
Let's
this is
go.
literally the title. So you're getting a whole exclusive. I
Oh,
haven't said that
super
to anybody.
exclusive.
And it's how is it my business?
Hmm. Okay.
How is it my business?
Yeah.
And I wholeheartedly believe that we are all creators because we
Yes.
were created by a creator.
Right.
And that we're all creators, and that a lot of times the things we're doing is to just put us in the space of creating.
Come on. Yes.
But how it's going to work out is not
Mhm.
your business. Like I have a plan for how I hope to get to millions of dollars, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I'm working this strategy.
Uh-huh.
Lord, hear me. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
like I know we have all these posts about no such thing as an ethical millionaire. Me and the Lord gonna try it out. Um,
There's always room for a first. There's always room for a first.
and I think about that and I have this plan in mind.
Yeah,
But if I'm being honest, the plan is to keep me busy.
that's
The
real.
plan the plan is to keep me busy, is to keep me in the space of creating.
Uh-huh.
Ultimately, how it happens, it's got nothing to do with me.
Come on. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so God is sovereign and how isn't your business
Yeah.
are definitely my two hopes that people will um, truly be able to get to and really see like you are complete. Like you already have all of these parts. I know it sounds real cliche
No, but it's
because we
real.
say it all the time, but every trauma, like we were talking about before, crisis,
Hmm.
moment, everything works collectively
For real.
for you to be able to get to this particular moment in time and to
Yes.
be able to do this particular thing.
Right.
And that in itself is super exciting to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Certainly. Certainly, certainly. You have to come back when the book is ready. You have to come back.
Yes. And now that I've said it out loud, I have to actually work on
Now
it.
you got to write it too. That's the because now
Because
you. Yeah.
I've already started writing on it. I'm not going to tell you how long I've been writing on this because
That's okay.
it's a trifling amount of time, and all of
It's
the
a
things that
trifling
I've
amount
said
of time.
about ideas needing to happen. And I've said a lot of things that I
Yeah.
know I'm going to have to eat later. So I'm going to just
That's
leave it
how it
at that.
goes. That's how it goes. This book is going. This book is going to happen, and we are praying for you, and excited, and cannot wait to read it. Like I told you, if you need somebody to like read it before it come out, I love that stuff, man. So
Listen, hands down, hands
yeah.
down. It is the whole purpose of it, and kind of the premise of it is the in between, like that entrepreneurship is a mixture of fantasy and faith,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And really recognizing that in order for me to walk around this radically delusional,
Mhm. Come on, right?
it's rooted in faith because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to explain it to people like, oh, this happened um and that happened, and I'll go through these things, and they're like,
Uh huh.
what, like at some point, it's like, all right, I'm calling CPS, like, lady, this is irresponsible, and I'm like, I get to move around like I know I'm not going to fail.
Come on.
And
Come
that, like,
on.
and if we really, really unlock that, it is incredible
Talk
what
about
we're
it.
able to accomplish.
Yeah.
Um, and I know everybody has like their own, like, spiritual thing. Mine is the shower. That space right
That's your
there.
space.
Whew, that's the space. Like, I have a whole meditation area in the house, but
Come
listen, it's
on.
nothing like what
Nothing like,
happens.
yeah, over there.
Like nothing like what happens in that shower.
I hear you.
And in all of these like very transformative conversations with God, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm brought right back to understanding that all of the doubts and the beliefs, if I just truly think about the fact that God does not fail,
Come on.
like if I don't think about anything else,
Right.
like that as long as you lock down with me, you do not have the capacity
Right.
to fail. Like you'll lose opportunities, things will
Sure.
happen,
Sure.
but you're not gonna fail.
Won't fail.
You won't fail. And that's enough. Like that's enough to get me right back at it, to go back towards it another day, to really wholeheartedly believe that,
Hmm.
all right, we can make this work.
That's it. That's it.
That's it.
Oh, that's such a beautiful word. God does not fail. And it kind of convicted me. 'Cause I think about moments in life I think, man, I failed. But no, I was like,
No.
hearing what you say, like, no, you ain't failed. That's, man, woof. Somebody passed the
Like
plate.
yeah, and it gets really even recently I made a business choice, right?
Yeah.
And I found myself because it flipped us upside down. Like I
Okay.
mean, just it toppled us.
Yeah.
I killed maybe 95% of our revenue.
Okay. Huge risk.
Huge. Like I mean, these are things that and still we still on the fence about it. So I want to be real
Yeah,
honest,
that's
right?
honest.
These are the things that make a business fail. Like
Yeah.
just absolutely stops. And I was spending a day and I was crying about it. And I was talking to one of my friends on the phone. And I said, I've had a lot of failures in business. I have.
Mm-hmm.
But they were all like the cute failures, like something else happened outside of me.
Yeah.
And then God turned it around, like stuff
Yeah.
like that.
100%.
But this was one of those instances where it was like, nah, God ain't turned it. I know you hit that wall.
Yeah, you bumped your head. Right.
And recently I had went to church and they were speaking on your worship isn't just what you do
Uh-huh.
when God works it out. Like your worship is how you handle the knowledge of it might not work out.
Oh, come on. Right.
And I was kind of like when they said it, I was like, oh, okay. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like that. Like, wait
Right.
a
I
minute.
don't like that.
Let's get back to the feel good Baptist.
Yeah. Give me
Run that back.
give me that good news again. Right. Wait a minute.
And it was like, like, well, even if God doesn't, I'm going to serve. And I was like prosperity preachers,
Yeah.
like, but I sat with it and I could tell by how it stung that God was
Yeah.
being very specific, like, no. I
Right.
need you to know this is not about to work out.
Woo.
And I started saying things like, I messed up. I must have heard God wrong.
Oh, wow.
And so here recently, and I'm talking about this is like last week, God is really showing me, no,
Uh-huh.
you heard me right.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you heard me right.
Yeah.
Yes, it did fail.
Right.
And yes, it did. But that was a part of the assignment too.
Part of the process of it. Yeah.
And that stings. It stings so bad.
Goodness.
But it's so necessary. And how do you worship in that space? Or how do you recognize that? Because I had to even change how I was talking about it. And I kept saying stuff like, we failed, I messed up. I ran this off the road. Then I realized,
Wow.
like, no, you were obedient to what you were supposed to do.
Come on.
You're now living in what God already knew was going to happen.
Right.
It's not a failure. It was a necessary part of what's about to come next.
Yeah.
Like this part was necessary of what's about to come next. And that is such a hard part of entrepreneurship or a part of anything, I'll even say.
Sure.
Because now you get all the outside noise.
Mm-hmm.
All of the people that are like, listen, I love you, so I need to tell you that you should do this.
Yeah.
Hey, are you sure that you heard them correctly? Like
Come
maybe you
on.
should go back to. And it's a very interesting season because I've had to actually step back and say, no, what is God saying right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or what was I already told? Like, I don't have to keep repeating this stuff. Like, what was already being told to me? And ultimately, I have that promise of in whatever it is, God does not fail.
Yeah. My goodness.
Yeah, it's
My
it's a
goodness.
nice, beautiful season here.
It really is. Just the gems are flowing like you were connected, fully connected, man.
This has been the process of pruning. So your
That
timing, your timing is perfect because it
yeah.
would have been a different Shayla a week ago, 2 weeks ago,
Come on.
3 weeks ago. But we're in a intense pruning
Yeah.
and refining season.
That's it.
And now I'm in the excited part because
Oh,
before it was just dark, just
dark. It was like, man, this ain't for the weak. You sure you want to do this?
my message would have been different. Don't do it,
Don't
folks.
do it.
Run.
Would have been a cautionary tale on this episode.
You got an idea, run from it.
Run
Give it to
from
somebody
it.
else.
Tell somebody else. Let them suffer.
But today is new breath, so
I love it. I love it.
we're getting a different perspective today.
Yeah, thank God for that clarity. Ain't nothing like it. Ain't nothing like it. I hear you. I hear you. So I want to ask you a question. I asked this to all of our guests. It's really a favorite question of mine. I want you to imagine that you're hosting a dinner. You can invite 4 guests, dead or living, fictional, real people. Shayla, who you bringing to dinner?
4 people. Oh, that's hard.
No mistakes. There's no bad answers. I've had some answers, but there's no
I'm gonna
bad
give you the
answers.
ones I thought of initially.
That's good.
Okay. I want my future self there.
Ooh, that's a first.
I
I've
want
never heard that before. I like that.
my future self there.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I got some questions for her.
Sure.
I'm struggling with. I'm gonna give a real Christian girl answer. I want Jesus there, but I don't know.
Jesus has been invited many times on this.
Yeah,
on this
but I feel
episode.
like Jesus gonna change up the vibe of the conversation. So
Every
Jesus
time.
might need to be his own private conversation.
Jesus might dominate the room. He might.
Right. I need Jesus and me to have our own conversation, not in front of folks. I feel like that one's gonna be a little bit embarrassing.
I get you.
But okay, so I'm gonna say Jesus. I'm gonna say for sure my future self. Um, Nelson Mandela.
Oh yeah, strong answer too.
Because I think about long-term strategy. That's who comes to mind.
Yeah. Oof.
Hands
Yes.
down.
Yes.
Um,
Certainly.
Yeah, I would love a dialogue with Nelson Mandela. And if I had to think of a fourth person, my first thought was Malcolm X.
That's a strong one.
Yeah, I would love to have a conversation with Malcolm X.
Mhm.
Mostly because I just don't think we know anything about what was actually happening in Malcolm X's brain.
For sure.
Like
Right.
we've kind of gotten this polarized picture.
Oh yeah.
So I would love to have that dialogue and that conversation. So those would have to be a very random 4.
Yeah, but a good 4.
Yeah, but those would be my 4.
I'm here for it.
I think I would leave that conversation enlightened to say the least.
Oh, to say the least. Yeah, that's I would like to be a fly on the wall for that dinner. That's gonna be something else.
Yeah, I think it might be some conflicting views amongst, but I think it would be a great talk.
Oh yeah, but I think they'd all be on the same page at the end of the night. Be on the same page.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
When you think about your business, you kind of alluded to it earlier with saying that you want to be retired from consulting by I'm gonna say by the end of the decade. Um, but definitely
Yeah.
within 5 years. Where would you like to see yourself in a decade?
In a decade, where would I like to see myself? Impacting children.
No doubt.
Like I would like to be able to impact children. I don't think there's a greater space,
Yeah.
um, personally,
Yeah.
or to be able to be considered like a safe space for
Gotcha.
children. And so to me, like if I'm thinking of the thing I'm most passionate about or would love to be able to do all day
Mhm.
would be whether that looks like foster care, whether that looks like policy around youth. I'm
Mhm.
not sure exactly what it looks like, to be
Right.
very honest.
Right.
But to be able to have a great impact and for children to comfortably be like, oh yeah, she's amazing.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
to have that. I don't think there's anything greater than kids growing up and being like, oh my goodness, this person impacted me.
Seriously, couldn't agree more.
There's no greater honor than that.
Couldn't agree
So
more.
in 10 years, that's where I see myself. It's really cool seeing now, though I myself identify as someone in my 20s,
I hear you.
we just don't we just gonna put that
That's
on the
where we are.
record.
That's where it is.
Having mentees that are like 25, 26 now walk up to you and say like,
I know.
what?
Yeah.
It is the best feeling ever.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously.
And so in 10 years, being able to see that and having a son that doesn't require a whole lot of therapy
Yeah.
and is
Come
like,
on. You did your job.
my mom did her thing.
That's it. Yeah, yeah.
And not just, she gave me the best of what she could.
Right. She tried, man. She tried. Mama tried. Like, that's not what you want. That's not what
But
you
in
want.
10 years,
Yeah.
I will have a 21-year-old.
That's wild. That's
And
wild.
to have a 21-year-old that's positively
Yeah.
impacting
Come on.
the world and
Yeah.
genuinely in line with his God-given spirit.
Come on.
That to me, I will honestly, I
Yeah.
think that's success in 10
Listen.
years.
Oh, absolutely. It's the best thing we get to do is be a parent. It's the best thing we get to do.
It is.
Yeah.
You get to be a child twice. Like,
100%. You know what I did last night? I watched the Ninja Turtles movie, and I had the best time watching with my son. I texted my frat brother. I said, "I think this is my favorite movie of 2023." His Teenage Mutant Ninja
you had
Turtles.
told me Ninja Turtles, and I still haven't watched it. I have to watch the movie.
Yeah.
We were watching Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Come on,
What?
right,
What
right.
am I talking how good this show was?
Come on, locked in on this like classic tale. You know what I mean? Like,
And then here I go. My son was very annoyed with me though, because we're like maybe 15, 20 minutes in. I'm like, well, is he really going to be the last airbender? Is there other ones? And my son goes, it's in the title. Like that's just how he said it was. It's in the title. Because I'm over there hopeful that at some point, maybe like 5 episodes in or 3 seasons in or something, that it's gonna be another airbender,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
so said.
He gets companions, right? No.
So I'm like, well, he's gonna meet another airbender, right?
I love it.
So I just was looking at the side of my head. So I'm like, yeah, because he's not gonna be the only one. Like you can spoil it for me. He's
Right.
like, it's literally the title.
Title of the show, the last.
The last airbender. Like,
I'm here.
I don't know if he's gonna let me watch it again with him tonight.
Listen,
I might have blown it, so maybe I'll have to do
you
Ninja
might
Turtles.
just watch it on your tablet by yourself. go to the other room with your tablet. Catch him on the
Get
airbender.
caught up because clearly I'm missing it.
You out the party now. You out the party. Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. Shayla, where should folks go if they want to keep up with you, learn more about the ways that you're helping folks? Where should people go?
Absolutely. So www.digitalideabank.com has a vault of all of our trainings, anything that you need to know about launching or learning about digital products.
Mhm.
It also is where you can get that freebie to learn 100 ways to make money with ebooks.
Yes.
And from that site, you can have access to our membership that gives you all 100 trainings on all of those different ways to make money with ebooks. Outside of The website, we are on Instagram a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and that handle is at Conscious Consulting. So
Mm-hmm.
either one of those are great ways to be able to learn from us. So if you want to learn more about ebooks or learn more about our business, definitely check out Instagram at Conscious Consulting. But if you're ready to begin to take some trainings and take it a step further, digitalideabank.com.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And I tell you all, I can't speak more highly of Shayla and the incredible work that you're doing. Thank you so much for all the
Thank you
great work
so
you do.
much.
Absolutely.
I'm super excited and proud of you. Like,
Thank you.
absolutely. Like, it is incredible to see. And you talk about consistency. You
Appreciate you.
have been consistently the
Appreciate you.
same dope spirit
Appreciate you.
all these years. So that's a hard act. So I definitely hats off to you, and I'm super excited for you.
Bless, bless. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, y'all know what it is. Baddest Chaplain here. Please make sure you listen to us on Spotify, Apple, baddestchaplain.substack.com, on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram as well. I've been talking about, like, I got a page on Spill now. I'm trying to figure out how to use Spill. Still trying
I've
to figure
heard
that
so
out.
much about it, and I feel like an old lady because I still don't know,
It,
but it is definitely the wave, apparently.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good platform. It's different than the other ones in terms of, like, the user experience of it. It feels
Mhm.
like it takes, like, a bit of a learning curve. It doesn't feel like the way Twitter felt or like Instagram feels, but it's really awesome. And it seems to be like a really good community building over there. So definitely want to on Spill. I'm at Dr. Chris Burton there. So, like,
Okay.
follow me there. But y'all, it's always a joy. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until next time, be blessed.